Hi everybody, this is Ellen. In this tutorial I'm going to show you how to make the happy taco. I think it turned out very cute. Got all the filling in the side. I chose meat, cheese, lettuce, tomato, and then the top can be, I guess, onions or sour cream, however you want to look at it. You can of course change those to what you like as we go along. It's not super band heavy. It's about 266 bands in total. I'll put the kind of separation of the colors down in the description box so you know exactly how many of each color that I used. And of course the eyes, I use 7mm pony beads, or you can use wrap bands, and I'll show you how to do that in a minute. And let's see, I think that's about all. So we'll get started right away, because it does have quite a few steps to it. It's not super hard or anything, but they're just kind of different steps we have to do as we go along. So hopefully we can get it done in not too long of a time. So for the cheeks, you can make those ahead of time. It is a wrapped band the color of your cheek that you want. You're going to put on your hook, wrap it around once into a figure 8. Then you can grab both bands and pull them up and over. And then you'll take the taco color, 2 bands. I'm using mango from Rainbow Loom, but you can use neon orange, yellow, really whatever color you like. So, but I'm just using the mango. And then you're just going to take 2 bands and pull them through for your cheek. Like that. You'll need 2 of those. And then for the eyes, if you want to do a wrapped band, it's the color of your eyes. So I'm using, if I'd use black, put on your hook, wrap it around once to that figure 8. Grab both bands, wrap them around again, and then pull 2 bands through. So that would be an eye. You need 2 of these as well. Or if you do the beads like I do, then it would be your pony bead or whatever you're using. You're going to want to find a piece of wire, yarn, string, fishing line, bread tie. I'm using craft wire, anything you can get into a V that will fit through the center of your bead. You're going to take 2 bands, the color of your taco, put them in the center of that V, drop it, pick it back up, and then you're going to thread, you kind of push those together, and then thread them through the center of your bead and pull it down to the middle. And then take out your threading tool. So you have a threaded bead eye band. So you need 2 of those if you're going to use the beads. And then of course this is on one loom. It's in a growing up design. And we're going to start by dropping bands. This will be the color of your taco, because grows up this way. And we're going to drop 2 bands up 7 pins. Kind of, I just do it in the middle somewhere, but we don't enlarge it, so wherever you start you should be alright. So I'm going to do it in the middle. So 2 bands up 7 pins on each side. Like so. So now what we're going to do is lay some cross bands to kind of get the base. This is similar to how I started the watermelon. I know a lot of people talked about their looms collapsing when we did this. I'll show you a way that you can maybe help avoid that. The base plates, they just get loose after a while, so it's not a whole lot you can do about that besides get new base plates. But starting right here in the middle, kind of at an angle down from where you dropped your last bands. It's going to be 2 bands, and we're just going to go towards where we drop the bands from that center pin. Doesn't matter which side you really do first, just so long as you get those bands there. Now, 2 bands. I'm going to go from left to right first. I'm going to stretch it all the way across. Still 2 bands. go over to this side and stretch it all the way from the right to the left. And then we're just going to keep doing that up till we get towards the top here. Alright, so when we get to where you've laid your cross bands, so they're ending right here, we're just going to do the 2 bands, a little arrow like we did at the beginning. And from the other side. Then we're going to want a cap band, 2 bands, you're just going to wrap it around one time. Maybe. It'll let me. Like so. So that's what we have now. So now we're going to loom this out. I know this is where it started getting tight and people were having issues with their looms collapsing in. I'll show you how hopefully you can avoid some of that tension from this spot right here. So we're going to go in through the cap band, grab the top 2 bands, pull them back towards themselves, do the same thing on the other side. And then you'll see that this band right here is underneath of this band, so we actually want to loom this one first before we do this side. So I'll go in through on this pin, grab the 2 bands, I usually just kind of spread them over that pin and all the way to the other side. Then I do the same thing on the other side. Like so. So now if you are worried that your loom may collapse in at some point, once you get past where you've loomed these out, like here we've loomed them out, these are not totally loomed out, but right here you can actually go in and you can puff these out if you need to. If you don't know what I'm talking about with the puffing out, then I'd probably you probably never watched a tutorial, so you don't know if your loom will collapse or not, so then I just follow what I'm doing for the rest of this. But we just keep alternating back and forth between the sides. We'll go in through this side because this is on the bottom. It helps if you put your thumb or finger right here, so when you go in to grab these bands, these ones that are around the pin won't pop up. Then we'll just keep going down. Like I actually have my finger there. And then the last 2, just grab them and pull them towards the center. So I have that. I mean, I can see my pins are coming in a little bit, but so once you're here, do it right away. On the end, you should have 8 bands, I guess. So you want to, depends how you count them. We want to flip over the bottom 4, so there's only 4 left. So there's 2 and 4, and there's my 4 left. So once you have that, we want to puff out the sides. So I'm just going to start on one side, and what I do is we're going to kind of use this little area in here, grab these bands that we dropped, go in through here, hook those bands that we dropped, like we're going to loop them over, pull them up, put both ends on the hook, pull this off of the pin, and then what's on your hook goes back on that pin. I'm going to do that all the way down both sides. This just helps make a wider base and reduces some of the tension. And then the other side. Alright, so there shouldn't be any more bands underneath. We have everything puffed out. So now what we're going to do is we're going to do a row around this entire thing. So 2 bands, and start down here and just lay bands all the way around until back to the beginning. Like that. So I'm going to flip over the bottom 4 on all the pins around. Just go through the first layer, pull them up over the side of the pin, and you'll do that for all of the bands. I guess I could have said to push the bands down, that might have helped a little bit. Like so. So you should have 4 bands on every pin around. Now we can push these down. And we're going to reduce this middle pin here and the middle pin up here. So you want to go in and you grab the top 2 bands, and when you lift them up there should be a nice separation that you can see. These ones are coming from this left pin, so they're going to come over to the right, and then these other ones will go over to the left. We'll do the same thing up here. Grab the top 2 bands, nice separation. These are coming from the left, so they'll go over to the right, and these will go over to the left. Like so. So now we'll start doing some of the filling stuff in the sides, and we're going to start with the neat row first. I'm going to use burgundy from Rainbow Loom, which you can use browns or whatever you want. So what we're going to do first, though, is we want to put a cap band on these 4 corner pins right here. So one band, and you're just going to wrap it around the pin one time on the 4 corners. Like that. Then we're going to take our burgundy bands, or whatever color you want for the meat. I'm going to drop 2 down, and then I'm going to put the other one right in between here. It's just kind of a holding spot. Won't be there for long, but then we'll do the same thing on the other end. We'll keep it the same as we go, like that. So now what we want to do is we're going to go through just the cap band that we put on the pin with our hook. You're going to grab those bands that we dropped, pull them up through the cap band, and put them onto the pin. Then you can pop these off, go in through the cap band on the other side, grab those ones we just took off the pin, pull them up through the cap band, and put them on the pin. Now, you don't want all this here, so we're going to flip over the bottom 4 bands. So if I go to the side that I flipped over last here, I can grab. It just kind of helps for the divide. If you can see where the cap band comes through right here, then the bands, how they go around, just grab those bottom ones, they're going to come over. And then same thing on the other side. There's a divide with the cap band, so those will go over too. So there's just 4 left on the pin. And we're going to do the same thing down here. So in through your cap band, grab the 2 bands that are dropped, pull them through, put them on the pin, pop these off, go through the cap band, I'll try not to get in your way, grab them and pull them over. Then we want to flip over the bottom 4. And down here it's not as hard to see as it is on this end, so you can just kind of look at the front of the pin, find the bottom 4 to flip over. So you have 4 left when you're done. Now we're going to do what's called the taco row, which will be 2 bands up both sides. So 2 bands starting right here. I'm just going to go up on top of the other taco shell bands. Like that. And then we're going to do the same thing on the other side. So like that. Now we're going to flip over bands, and on these pins when we reduce there's going to be more bands there, but we just want to leave 4 bands at the top. So the bands that we just laid, and then it's actually the cap band that is going to stay there. So underneath that, look, there's 6 bands, the reducing band, and then the 4 bands under that. Those are all going to go over the top of the pin. It's going to be the same way on the other side. So there's just 4 bands left. So then you're going to flip over the bottom 4 on the kind of middle pins. Then on the end again, there'll be 6 bands to flip over. Like so. Push these down. And if you want, go in and pull these bands kind of loose from this pin. kind of pop over the top. Might not be ready to totally come up, but on the end they're going to start bunching up and it'll be harder to get them to go where you want them to. So just kind of get them up over the top of that pin on the ends. Now we want to add our mouth band, which is going to go in the center. So 4th pin from either side. 1 band the color of your mouth on your hook, wrap it around once to that figure 8, and you're going to go in and grab those center bands, pull them up off the pin, slide your mouth band down, and then put those bands back onto the same pin, like that. Now we're going to reduce our ends, so our 4 corners here we're going to reduce, and how we're going to do that is make sure you can separate out the top and the bottom. It's important. You're going to go in through the bands on the pin, hook the bottom bands, pull them up through, and bring them back to the pin behind it. Then this will come off of the pin. As long as you get the bottom ones, it should be fine. It'll kind of look like maybe you didn't get it and it's loose, even if you got it right, so give it a little tug and you'll kind of see that it's wrapped around the band. So again, separate out the top and the bottom, go in through those bands. For some reason I always have trouble with this corner. Go in through the bands, grab the top ones, pull them up through the top, grab the bottom ones, pull them up through the top bands, and then what's on your hook comes back to the pin behind. And then this comes off. Then do the same thing on this end. Bottom bands, pull them back. These come off the pin. Bottom bands, pull them back, and these come off the pins. I'm just loosening this up a little bit more. So once you're there, we're going to, on both ends where the meat bands are, we're going to want to explain it first before we do it, but we're going to transition to the cheese row. So you're going to want your cheese color, whatever that one's going to be, and we're going to kind of hide some of this band right here by using some wrapped bands that we're going to put on our hook, and then we're going to puff it with the cheese color. So I'm going to take 2 bands, the color of my cheese, and just drop them on those bands right, or those pins, kind of right next to it, like that. And I want to take 2 bands that are the color of the meat, put them on my hook, and just wrap them both around one time, just like that. Just kind of push those up. So what we're going to do is you go in through the bands, the meat bands that are on the pins, grab your cheese bands, pull them over back to the pin that they were on, then go in through the cheese bands, pull them off the pin, pull everything off the pins, slide down the meat bands kind of over the top of where the kind of the puff or the joint is right there. And these bands that were the cheese bands, you're actually going to back them up a little bit and it gets a little squishy, but we want to put them on this pin. If we leave them up here, they're just too stretched out. So they were up here, we're going to move them back to the pin closest to our taco. So bring them down and put them back on. Like that. We have to do the same thing on this end. So 2 bands, color of the meat, on the hook, wrap them both around one time, go in through the meat bands, grab the cheese, or the orange, loop it over, then go in through cheese bands, pull them off the pin, pull the meat bands off the pin, slide those bands down, and then the ones on your hook are going to go on the pin closer to the tacos. So, like that. Now we're going to start for our kind of the next portion of the cheese row. So we want to add cap bands to the four corners again. One band one time around on the four corners. This is what I meant by having the kind of extra steps in there. Takes a little bit longer. So cheese color bands, I'm going to drop two right on top of where the puffed bands are, and then two more bands I'm going to lay between these two pins. I'm going to do the same thing on the other end. Two bands on this pin and two bands up across the top. So what we're going to do is go in through a cap band, grab those dropped bands, pull them through, put them back onto the same pin. It's just like we did for the meat, so go through the cap band, just want to fly up. Grab those other bands. I popped it off the pin and put it up there. Now, for flipping over here, there are a lot more to flip over. We still want to only have 4 bands left when we do that, so if you look on each side, this one is way down low, that divide I was talking about between where the cap band comes and then you can see the band. This one's down low, so this one it would be the 4th set of bands when we go down. So come to the other side. I'm going to flip these over first. The bottom ones from this side. And I'll flip over the next ones. So it's the bottom of the bands that we put on right here, and then we want to flip over all of the puffing bands. So the 4 puffing bands. All that goes over. We want to do the same thing on the other end as well. So in through the cap band, grab those dropped bands, pull them through the cap band onto the pin. I'm going to pull these off, go into the cap band on the other side, grab those bands, bring them back onto the pin. So now I'm going to take from this side the bottom 2 bands, just kind of to make it easier for me. You don't have to, just so long as when you're done there's 4 bands on that pin where the cheese is. Trying not to make it complicated. Hopefully I'm explaining it well enough. It's kind of keeping the separate colors and things. It's a little difficult at times without getting more involved. I'm still pulling those taco bands kind of off pins, making sure that they're out of the way. So push your bands down. Next we're going to do our cheek row. So we're going to do the taco row with our cheeks right here. So 2 bands, put up 1, and right here on either side of the mouth will be our cheek bands. So there's 1, and then our second one. And then 2 bands up, and then the other side we'll just 2 bands all the way up. once we have that, we're going to flip over the pin, or flip over the bands over the pins. We only want to leave 4 bands at the top. So again, that's going to be the cap band and the bands we just laid. So the 2 bands under that will go over, and the bottom 4. So there'll be 6 bands to flip over on the end pin, 4 in the middle ones. And then 6 again on the end. Same thing on the other side. So there's just 4 bands left on every pin. And push those down. So now we still need some more cheese. What we're going to do is 1 band on the hook, wrap it around 1 time. Another band on the hook, wrap it around 1 time. So you leave those on there. And you're going to want your lettuce row, or the bands you're going to use for your lettuce. And we're going to drop those like we did last time. So 2 bands right there, and 2 lettuce bands right here. And obviously if you're left-handed and it's more comfortable on the other side, or however it works for you, they can be on the other side as well. But we have the cheese bands on the hook. We'll go in through the cheese bands here, grab those lettuce bands, pull them up through the cheese bands and back to the pin that they're on. Go through the lettuce bands, pull them off the pin, pull the cheese off the pin, and then slide down what's on your hook to kind of cover that connection a little better. And then these will go onto the pin where they were, like so. We'll do the same thing on the other end. So you want a cheese band, wrap it around you on your hook once, do it again, and you'll go through the cheese bands, grab the lettuce, pull them up and over, go through the lettuce, pull them off the pin, pull the cheese off the pin, slide down what's on your hook, and then these go back onto the same pin. Like that. Now once again we're going to do our cap bands. So make sure everything's pushed down. 1 band on the 4 corners. I know the cap bands can be annoying, but they help separate out the sides of the taco. So cap bands on the 4 corners, just 1 time around. And we're going to take 2 bands, drop them on to where we puffed out that lettuce, or puffed out the cheese with the lettuce bands. And then 2 more bands are going to go right across the top. And we'll do the same thing on the other end. So drop 2 bands, and then 2 bands across the top. Like that on both ends. So then go through your cap band, grab the drop bands, pull them up and over, pop these off, go through the cap band on the other side, grab them, back onto the pin, and then again flip over everything but the top 4 bands. Just be 4 bands left on that pin. And do the same thing down here. Through your cap band, grab the drop bands first, pull them back onto the pin, pop this off, go through the other cap band, pull these up, back onto the pin. This design is basically kind of like a combination of my ice cream sandwich and watermelon and, well, a lot of them, so. Like so. There'll just be 4 bands left on that pin too. Push those down. Now we're going to do our eye row on the taco. So the eyes are going to go right above the cheeks. So 2 bands first. You need your eyes. And 2 more. And on the back side it's just 2 bands all the way up. Like that. And I flip over the bands over the pin. So again, we just want the top 4, so it'll be 4 bands all the way around. So we haven't reduced anything yet, for a row at least. But it's coming. So 4 left on that side. We'll do the same thing over here. Like that. Push everything down. Now we are going to reduce. I told you it was coming. Same way we did before. We want to find the bottom bands. Make sure that they're separate so you can see that you have the right ones. Go through the bands, grab the bottom bands, pull them up through the top ones, and bring these bands back to the pin behind it. And then these should pop off. And do the same thing on the other side. I tell you this pin every time. Alright. Bottom bands up and over. And these can come off. Same thing on the other corners. Like so. Push these down. Alright, so now we got to transition between the green and the red for the tomato. So we want to take green bands. We're going to do the single wrap thing again like we did with the cheese. 1 band on the hook, wrap it around once. Another band on the hook, wrap it around again. These are the lettuce color. So get those ready. And then you're going to take 2 red bands and just drop them next to where we puff it out. So go in through the lettuce bands. Grab the tomato bands, pull them through, and go in through the tomato, pull them off the pin, pull the tomato or lettuce off the pin, slide down the lettuce bands, and then these go back onto the pin. However, you might want to move them closer again. So here's where we were up here. We've reduced back. So I'm going to put them on this pin that's a little closer. And like I said, it's snugly there. And your taco will start to kind of fold in, but it still works. So again, one lettuce band wrapped around the hook once, another one wrapped around again. Go through your lettuce bands, grab your tomatoes, pull them over, and go through the tomato, lift them up, lift up the lettuce, slide down your lettuce bands, and then again I'm going to pull it back so we're closer to our rest of our taco. So it's definitely squished up from where we were before. So now we want to do the cap bands again on the 4 corner pins. So we'll push all this stuff down. But the good news is that this isn't taking as long as I thought it would. I was worried I'd have another over-hour tutorial like my beetroot. Sorry about that still. But it was cute. I liked it. So cap bands on the 4 corners. Then we're working with the tomato. So 2 red bands onto this pin. They don't really drop anymore because they're getting kind of squishy, but and then 2 bands across. Same thing on the other end, so 2 bands onto the pin, 2 bands across. So now you're going to go in through your cap band, grab the drop band, pull them over and back onto the pin, pull these off, go through the cap band on the other side, grab those bands, pull them over. And we want to flip over everything, and remember there's more than usual because we have the puffing bands, so everything except for the top 4 bands. Like that. So there's 4 left. Same thing on the other side. Cap band. Grab the drop bands first. Pop these off. Go through the other cap band. Grab those. And everything over but the top 4. So 4 left. Push everything down. We're going to do another taco row. So 2 bands across the 2 pins, or 3 pins I guess, on both sides. Like that. And you're going to flip over again everything but the top 4. So you have your cap band and the bands we just laid, and then everything underneath of that is going to go over. In the middle is 4 bands, and then this one on the end will again be 6. I actually made this taco quite a few times to get it the way I liked it, and a couple different versions, and so I combined them to get the version that I like. So I was making my finished taco to show, and I forgot a row while I was doing it, so I had to do it all over again. Because I got off the loom, I'm like, what the heck did I do? Doesn't look right. I made it worse. Alright, so we got those flipped over. So now we're going to go up to the white at the top. We're going to do that with the transitioning of the tomato to the white. So, 2 bands, white, or you guys suppose you could use a different green for guacamole or something. 2 bands right there and right there. Then we want tomato bands. I'm just going to take 2 of them together, wrap it around my hook. So, in through the tomato bands, grab those white bands, pull them back over, in through the white bands, pull them off the pin, pull the red ones off the pin, slide the bands down that are on your hook, and replace this back onto the pin. I get snug. So push those down. And do the same thing on the other end. The 2 red bands on your hook, wrapped around one time. Go through the tomato bands, grab those white ones, pull them back onto the pin, dun, dun, dun. Grab the white ones, pull them off, pull off the red, slide the ones down that are on your hook, and then these go back onto that pin, like so. I'm just going to pull this up a little bit. So that's what we have now. Still looks a little funny. What we're going to do next is do our cap bands again. Thankfully this should be the last time. So 1 band, 4 corners, wrap it around one time. Like that. Now we're going to do the kind of the filling part like we've done for the other stuff. So 2 bands onto the pin, 2 bands across the pins, 2 bands dropped, and 2 bands across the top. So I'll start up here this time. I'm just going to go in through the cap band, grab the dropped bands, pull them up and over, pop these off, go in through the other cap band, grab those bands onto the pin, and then again we're going to flip over everything but the top 4. Like that. And on this end, same thing. Drop bands through. Pop these off. Through the cap band, grab those, put them on the pin, and then flip over everything but the top 4. Push those down. Do another taco row. So 2 bands, gigs, up both sides. So like that, the taco bands. And again, flip over the bottom 4 on all the pins. You can see them better. Push those down. So now we're going to reduce the ends again. So I want to find the bottom 4 bands on the corner pins, go in through the top bands, grab the bottom 2, pull them towards the center, and these can pop off. The same thing on the other end. Bottom bands through the top onto the pin in the center, and these come off. And then while you're here, might as well flip over the bottom 4, actually the bottom 6, sorry. So we just want to leave the top 2 on this pin. So just one little lonely band, or 2 little lonely bands on that side. On this side, we're going to do the same thing. You gotta make sure I have the bottom. These ones are twisted. I tell you, it's just this pin. Every taco I made, it gave me trouble. Alright, we're good now. Put in through top ones, grab the bottom 2, pull them back towards the middle. This can pop off. Guess I decided to twist all my bands on my last row. There we go. Bottom bands through the top towards the center. This comes off. I'm going to flip over everything but the top 2 bands. Like so. And then I'm going to take one band and we're going to puff the 2 bands that we left on the side. So take your hook, poke it through the taco bands here, pull up that one white band, or whatever matches the top of what we've been doing on the sides. Pull it up and get that on the pin over there. Same thing on the other side, through the taco bands, pull up that one band, take it off and replace. Then we can remove this. So I'm just going to start in the back. I'm going to kind of keep my fingers over the other ones so I don't have any boo-boos, but I'm going to start in the back, grab these 2, put on my hook, grab the next ones around on my hook, and the front ones, and then the last side ones. This kind of, when we close this now, I'm just going to use one band to pull through. I'm going to pull it through. Try not to snag things. Like whatever I snagged already. And once I get them both on my hook, I'm going to kind of pull it towards the back of the taco and then pull it tight. Then I will tuck that in. And you want to squish them, stretch them. You might need to go in through here on the bottom, loosen up these bands. I don't know if it's just because the mango can be sticky for me. I don't know if it's just the ones I picked up or what, but so like so. But now you want to go through the sides and kind of unbury anything that got hidden. So there's the meat row. How if I do it this way? Then the cheese bands. You can see some of them, I don't know if you can see some of them, but I see that some of them have gotten tucked up underneath the lettuce. So I'm just going to pull those out. Then you can kind of pull on some of those to give the appearance of cheese sticking out the side of the taco. You don't have to, you can leave them kind of more situated next to the taco like the meat bands are. But you'll just do this up both sides. Get those bands unburied. Pull them out if you want them to give them a little flair. Like so. You can see a little difference from one side to the next if you do a little kind of magic in there. But that is the happy taco. I'm going to do the other side real quick, and I'll probably fast forward through it super fast, just so I can have matching. Alright, so he doesn't look very happy right now. I was going to say, here's the happy taco, but kind of had a big grumpy look on his face. So I gotta fix his mouth. There we go. So, happy tacos. Hope you like them. I think they're cute and adorable, of course. I hope you didn't find them too difficult with all the kind of little puffing stuff I did along the side. I really wanted them to be fairly easy. I kind of went really crazy the first time that I made it, and I was like, this is too crazy and nobody's going to want to follow it. So, but I definitely enjoy making these. I have plenty more coming for all of the requests that you guys keep making. They are still all going on my board, and I'm getting to them as I'm inspired to do them. So I definitely appreciate you guys watching. It really means a lot to me. And I know everybody's getting super busy with school starting, and there isn't as much time to loom, which is unfortunate because it is a fun hobby. But do schoolwork first, and then you can do all the looming you want. That's what I tell my kids. Of course, they're more, I want to go play outside. They know the rules. But you can still hashtag these to feelinspiffyhappyfood. You can share them with me on my Instagram, which is at craftingfantastic, on my Facebook page, which is feelinspiffy, and of course if you want to know when more tutorials are coming. Since you are busier now, it's good to have a little reminder at times. You can get a little reminder from YouTube when my tutorials are out if you subscribe to my channel, Feelinspiffy. And again, thanks for watching. I definitely appreciate it. And happy looming, and I'll have more for you soon.